Hi. Merry Grimbus. I had a good 2022. Went pretty all in on digital art this year. I tried to spend more time on drawings, which is my excuse for only having like 10 finished pieces. But I'm pretty proud of my progress. Read some cool comics this year. Read through Scott Pilgrim again, as is basically yearly tradition at this point. Read The Batman Who Laughs, which has some really cool artwork, but a kinda goofy story. Been listening to rom-com on repeat. Watched a few movies and shows. Everything Everywhere All at Once is packed with creative and absurd concepts, yet it still manages to get me emotional and introspective every time I watch it. Edgerunners made me want to give 2077 a shot. Mob Psycho 100 expertly balances comedy and unironically cool fight scenes and quality animation. I watched a pretty solid amount of anime this year. But what was my favorite? Cowboy Bebop is a goodie bag of genres set in a retro-futuristic space western, which catches an aesthetic that feels tailor-made for my pretzel-shaped brain. The composition of some of these shots make me feel like an inferior being. And it's one of the few anime that has a genuinely fantastic English dub. Steve Blum's performance as Spike Spiegel makes the cells in my ears vibrate.
And the number 2 nozzle won't work either.
What? Are you for real? We can't live
Oh, well.
without them. I knew I should.
Whatever happens,
I'm only 18.
happens.
I don't want to die yet. I've never even been with a woman. Somebody help!
And the soundtrack is grossly underrated. Fight scenes have this chaotic, upbeat jazz band. Chase scenes use songs that feel like run-on sentences. It's the only soundtrack I've ever heard that fully commits to the spontaneous sound, as if it's actually being made up on the spot. And it fits so perfectly with the back and forth nature of action scenes. Clearly, I'm partial to the upbeat stuff, but there's also some stuff that made me tear up. I could talk about this show for an hour, but I think most of it would probably boil down to music, good, art, good, story, good. Cowboy Bebop nails so much with just 26 episodes. If you plan on getting into anime, watch Cowboy Bebop. And tell me when you do, I want to watch it again. I played a few games this year. Played through Resident Evil 4 for the first time. Rounds was pretty cool. Ultra Kill is one of the greatest shooters of all time and it's not even finished yet. Mega Man 7 was great. Mega Man 8 was...
Recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
I got a PS3 this year, giving me a chance to finally play some of the hits that I never got to grow up with. God of War, Uncharted, The Last of Us, Dark Souls, Metal Gear Solid, Shadow of the Colossus. These are the games I would have played if I could ever stop playing Skate 3. Valorant reworked Yoru this year, who I happened to one-trick, and they gave him this ability where basically you throw an exact clone of Yoru forward, and if the enemy shoots it, it blinds them for an unreasonable amount of time, which led to some really funny tech.
You were supposed to keep paying attention, so
Annoying thing,
One enemy remaining.
She's a pretty cat.
I'll return.
Yeah, scared the shit out of them.
God, she was freaking out. Do you see her going crazy?
it's just an A send. Bro, I can't.
What the?
Knife deployed.
This is it.
A lot.
This is it.
But they're not running it.
This is it.
go for it. Oh my god. Let's go.
Some moral support here. Together.
One enemy remaining.
Tried to start a new hardcore world this year, but
Oh, good read.
Maybe next year. I've been grinding through the Hollow Knight Pantheons, got through the first 4, and now I'm on the Pantheon of Hollow Nest, which, if you didn't know, makes you fight all 42 bosses in the game in one run. Maybe next year. Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe the year after that, actually. Maybe we put that off even further. Played a few games that released this year. Vampire Survivors casually invented a new genre, spawning games like 20 Minutes Till Dawn. Multiverses was the next in line this year to attempt to recapture that feeling of seeing Mario fight Sonic. And at least for me, I don't really care about anyone in this roster. I think part of the reason Smash works so well is because it brings all the coolest video game characters into one huge video game where they fight each other. That's what gave Smash that wow factor. The unexpected third parties. Sonic joining Smash was an event. Seeing Shaggy fight Batman doesn't really interest me at all. I even know and love most of these characters, but I feel like there's a disconnect when playing a game with TV show characters. It just kind of feels like an ad. It is fun though, if you care about that, I guess.
Oh my gosh, that was so sick.
That's sick. Okay, I can't. Dude.
Oh, that was
We're
so
nasty.
cool.
We're nasty.
Yeah, that was awesome.
LEGO games are linear. Most of the classic games follow a level-to-level structure with super simple puzzles, essentially just walking you through the Star Wars movies with a comfy LEGO aesthetic, which was the perfect formula for me to play through multiple times as a kid. Which is why when the Skywalker Saga was revealed to be open world, I fully prepared myself for disappointment. This is not what LEGO games should be. LEGO games are beautiful in their simplicity. It's what makes them so great for kids. The Skywalker Saga throws all that out the window. Basically, the only thing that stayed was the LEGO aesthetic, which admittedly looks great. But this doesn't feel like the same collection that the complete saga was. That being said, it's still really fun to play through with a friend. Anyways, fix the split screen. I gained an obsession with shoot-em-ups this year. Something about the simplicity of the genre. Just holding a button down and hearing your ship go. That crunchy Sega Genesis sound system is what makes old shmups worth going back to. And it's why Thunder Force 4's soundtrack makes my mouth taste like copper. Honestly, Thunder Force 4's gameplay is pretty standard shmup gameplay, but who cares? The gameplay is just to give your hands something to do while you listen to the music. Ikaruga has this really creative polarity mechanic that adds a new dimension to dodging and weaving through obstacles. But if you want a real shmup, one thing I don't think shoot-em-ups have quite figured out is a progress system. Since shoot-em-ups are typically short and difficult, saving systems are often either way too generous or completely absent. Zero Ranger has a brilliant solution that also gives the score a purpose. All the score that you get from each run goes into getting more lives for the next run. Zero Ranger feels like the culmination of retro shoot-em-ups, while also creating its own visual style, with its palette of oranges and bluish greens, and anime-esque mechs and characters. Tetris is just fun, man. The Cuphead DLC added an entire new character that completely changes the feel of combat. Miss Chalice has a double jump, her dash parries, she has a dodge roll. Instead of just adding new bosses, we got an entirely new way to enjoy the base game, and boy did I. We Were Here Forever was a roller coaster of quality, with some of the most creative puzzles in this series, and then you have the pipe maze.
Oh, spooky red mist.
Oh, you're
Oh my gosh! Jesus, man! Don't look so scary next time.
Key.
What'd you get?
I got a bunch of dicks.
What the hell? Get back here. I'm not strong enough.
Oh, you,
Oh. I fell down the well.
how did you fall down the well?
I tripped. Whoa, it's purple.
Oh, it's red.
Oh.
Oh.
We're colorblind.
That montage. Come on. I'm doing the sickest backflip.
I'm doing a backflip. Let's go. From an outside perspective, I always saw Apex as just another battle royale game. But this year, when I finally got deep into it, I started to realize how much movement tech is in this game. And the more tech you learn, the smoother movement feels. Tap strafing, super gliding, super jumping, grapple hopping, wall running, wall jumping, grapple slingshotting, edge sliding, bunny hopping. All of this movement tech flows so smoothly into each other, and combined with the gunplay's focus on recoil control and tracking, this is what makes high-level Apex gameplay so sick. Dead Cells surprised me with how different its combat feels from every other roguelike dungeon crawler. Instead of the top-down view, Dead Cells is more of a platformer, which makes for a way more approachable experience. Also, this game has been getting consistent major updates since the dawn of man, since the dawn of time. Since the dawn of the planet of the apes. I don't think any other game I own gets this much consistently good free content. I've seen a lot of reviews for Stray that just compliment its polish, highlighting all the cute details and Easter eggs. Which, yeah, Stray is all about those fun details in games. You can knock things over, there's a meow button, you can knead the carpets, and I too smile ear to ear during every interaction with a robot, but not enough people are talking about the world in this game. The apocalypse is nothing new to fiction. People have written, acted, and animated this subject to death. Yet, Stray takes on this post-apocalyptic setting with its own personality. In so many stories about the apocalypse, robots are the ones who start it. Bitter from years of being enslaved, robots fight back against the humans, humanity dying by the hands of machines. But in Stray, an infection is what ends all human life. And in their place, robots create a society imitating human life. Instead of being bitter, robots are thankful and miss humanity. They imitate art. There's a class system. It's a really cool idea, and I personally don't enjoy the robots take over the world story as much as robots must inherit the world and take care of it. And the world is beautifully realized. The music is so good. All the animations are crazy realistic, the subtle use of color and lighting is excellently done, and at the end of the day, this game is very cute. I've been eyeing Inscription since the day it came out because of its distinct art style. I was actually very hesitant at first, as I always am with digital card games, but Inscription has made me rethink that mindset. This game is closer to a tabletop role-playing game than anything, using my favorite kind of writing with really gross descriptors that sets a vivid atmospheric setting, further immersing me with its really fun sound design. All the cards make this flippy sound. Moving your little wood character makes this chalky thud. It's all so tactile, to the point where you can almost feel the texture of each item on the table. Hey, it turns out video games are really pretty, guys. Since GPU prices finally started to dip, this was my first year I got to play modern games on my own PC, and I had some catching up to do. Jedi Fallen Order, Just Cause 3, Need for Speed Heat, Stray, Doom 2016, Hitman 2, Ghost Runner, but there was one game that got ported to PC this year that was just pure euphoria. After every other game company tried to make a coherent Spider-Man game over the course of decades, Insomniac came in and made everyone look like monkeys. The web swinging is just so fun. Web zipping feels so natural and acts as a nice quick accelerator. It's very forgiving, so you don't have many dissatisfying stops in momentum. The fighting system is fun, all the hits and sound effects are impactful.
Anybody hear this? Nap time. I'm getting wet.
The animations for everything you do are all so fluid. There's so many suits to pick from, but I still found myself using the suit they designed because it's just such a cool Spider-Man suit. And this game looks so good. I mean, look at what you can pull off with the photo mode. Some of these look like promotional art for movies. And the story made me weep at 3 in the morning. It follows an older, more experienced Spider-Man, and mainly focuses on the relationship between Peter and Otto Octavius. And even though everyone knows the story of Dr. Octavius, the way this game did it was just so good. Each time you visit the lab, you see how Otto's personality slowly decays over the course of the game. Sure, it's a familiar story, but it's told in a way no other medium can replicate. And it's backed by some phenomenal voice acting and a killer soundtrack by John Paisano. It's very hard for me to talk about this game intelligently, as all that goes through my brain when I'm playing it is I'm Spider-Man. There isn't a single thing in this game I don't love to death. I even thought the stealth and puzzle sections made for pretty okay pacing, even if while I played them, I was constantly thinking about how much I wanted to go back to being Spider-Man.
Hey, Pete.
I completely 100%ed this game, and I still want to jump back in just to swing around. You can so clearly see the team's love for the character of Spider-Man. It's so lovingly crafted that it kind of feels like a really high-budget fan game. And if you think about it, it is. Insomniac proved that Marvel games can be fantastic if you don't give it to the guys who made Gex. Difficulty seemed to be the common theme for my favorite games this year. Working through the Hollow Knight Pantheons, Dead Cells was pretty hard, 100%ing the Cuphead DLC, 100%ing Spider-Man, 100%ing Downwell, and Inscription was pretty difficult. Ikaruga, Zero Ranger, and Monolith all brought their own significant challenge. Sekiro was my first Souls game and has some of the most insane boss design I've ever seen. The Avengers game was difficult to enjoy, but the most challenging game I played this year was also my personal game I played this year. My personal game. Yeah, it's mine. It's mine now. My personal game is mine. I own it. I declare it. The most challenging game I played this year was also my personal favorite game this year. Celeste pushes out quality on all levels, building the difficulty subtly, with each chapter introducing a new mechanic, and each mechanic sort of teaching you how the physics in the game work. You got these bouncies that sort of teach you about the momentum in this game. You got these bouncies that show you how jumping and dashing can assist in your momentum. You got these bouncies that are similar to these bouncies but are more timing based. You got Kevin. The writing is wholesome, and the way they cover anxiety comes from a very real and sincere place. Not just talking about it, but actually showing real techniques to get through panic attacks. Madeline's sprite animations are also springy. All the art is so pleasing. The soundtrack, composed by Lena Raine, crescendos with the build of difficulty. The song Resurrections slowly introduces more instruments the further into the level you get. Star Jump gives me goosebumps. Anxiety gives me anxiety. My Dearest Friends is just a beautiful song on piano. You can tell how involved Alina was in the making of this game, because every song feels lovingly crafted to its level or scene. And then, you reach the peak. Silence. And then the game says,
"Oh, you thought that was it? Nah, that was the warm-up for the next 2 chapters.
Chapter 8 throws a bunch of new mechanics at you. Now you got these bouncies, and those bouncies, and switches. And these bouncies. Chapter 8 really kicks the challenge up a few notches. But if you even want to play Chapter 8, you're gonna need to beat the B-sides.
Oh, but what about Chapter 9, Ben?
Chapter 9?
Chapter 9 took me longer to beat than the entirety of the base game. That's real.
Chapter 9 is difficult to the point where it feels like a parody of hard games. I rammed my head against this level until dawn broke. Half of my time in Chapter 9 was spent on the final screen, which looks like this. Instead of how many games approach difficulty, which is just get good, Celeste slowly builds the challenge at an appropriate pace. Not to say it's easy, it's hard. It's very hard, but it slowly introduces that hardness. No, but it teaches you the fundamentals before throwing that difficulty at you. And once you've finally conquered the mountain, that's when the game asks, "Now, do you want to get good?"